I get money in my sleep, I could never be weak.
Let me ask you a question, boys.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. You know, it's the fucking BullRad podcast. What up, B Rad?
Yo, what's going on, kid?
Man, just trying to maintain, get the money like you getting, all this money you getting out here.
Yeah, well, we can't all get it like me, but we can try.
This fucking money ain't everything. You's a fucking greedy
Certainly is
capitalist.
not. But it helps. It helps.
I just destroyed everything cursing in the first 5 minutes. I said the F word twice. Jeez, man, get your stuff together.
Whatever, bro. We gotta let them know who we are. We gotta let them know who we are.
That's a fact. That's a
While they
fact.
still getting it for free.
For real. Man, we about to, these Epstein files is sparking up all kind of, mess out here. And everybody been waiting, so it's trending, top of the line, top topic right now for like as far as the mass media, because how long we've been waiting for this crap, for
Years.
Years. Yep, all kind of conspiracies around it. Oh, we're gonna hear about this, that. Most of them were true because we hearing about the stuff that people were saying in the conspiracies right now. But,
I mean, sky's the limit with this guy. I mean, he's a grade A, and I hate to blow it too, but he's a grade A scumbag all the way. So, like, you can pretty much think of any scenario involving the charges around him, and it's probably all going to work out to be pretty true.
Yeah, but I'm talking about other stars involved in the stuff that they were saying about other people involved.
I believe everybody in Hollywood has a good chance of getting involved in that shit. So,
That's a fact.
I know most won't be, but doesn't mean they're not cool with that shit too.
They looked over something that I touched on, about the whole Illuminati thing. I put out the little video.
I seen that. That's blowing up. Shout out.
Not really, but for us, I think it's going viral. But I wanted to touch on that because I knew it was going to be looked at. Nobody gonna really pay attention to that with all the creepy freak stuff going on, all the celebrities involved, all this, all that. But at the same time, you got to see that he explained it, that trilateral, commission.
Yeah, that's pretty in-depth stuff. I've never really heard about that much. I've watched a bunch of videos about it. I don't hear anything. You just hear about it in general. You don't hear anything about the workings.
He made it official for me, and he had to.
I mean, it sounds pretty official. It sounds super official.
Yeah. It involved continents, the powerful. It's like, wow, so really y'all sitting in the office like we always thought and putting shit together, huh? Running plays.
Wow. I mean, what do you know? These rich people got a plan. What do you know?
I know, but I don't know. I guess I was gullible I was like, they really up in the office, they got a couple of people that's making all the decisions for everything. You feel me?
Think about it this way. If the average person out here who doesn't have shit can think up rich people coming up with some secret organization that exists out in the third. And you think a bunch of rich ass people sitting around didn't already say, yo, we should do this?
Yeah,
you're not an original thought.
He was with the Rockefellers at the age of 30 something, that was crazy. So I'm like, already was on the road with them people.
I mean, that's royalty type name. You know what I mean? That's when you're dealing with like legitimate, that's American royalty, or at least based on their money and influence. Rockefeller's an insane name, so you're associated with that, playing with the big dogs. It's a whole different breed of people.
Yeah, when dude questioned him, he said, "How did a schmuck like you, from Coney Island,
from Bear Stearns, the enemy, how the hell did you wind up with this name?"
It's gotta be, it's gotta be some extracurricular activity. That's all I'm saying. That's where it starts at. Are you willing? Well, we can't deny. I guess he had he was a genius or a financial mind. But
I've heard otherwise, but I don't know.
What you mean?
I've heard math people and finance people say like he wasn't some god. He was like wasn't he gifted like some guy's entire like bankroll, some super wealthy guy. There's a lot to his story, but like he never had any money. He got all his money from other people. He positioned himself around rich people. I think this dude, personally, it's a whole conspiracy thing, but I think he may have definitely had a CIA or some sort of intelligence asset to him, or he worked with them in some capacity of entrapping people in this dirty ass end of stuff that he's involved in, apparently. And his cover for being a money guy, and he definitely knows a little bit, but like he didn't deserve his teaching position that he had when he had a position in New York at NYU. Apparently, this is what very big educated people have said. They're like, this guy, he's not that smart. When you really get into smart people, he's not one of them. He just, it seemed like he played the game and he knew people and he got put in the right position, and people granted him access that they wouldn't grant anybody else. For some reason, he got it. So I think a lot of strings got pulled for him. I think he was put in position for sure.
Salute to YouTube streets, man. What up? What up? We see where you came from and where you going. We were
Oh,
just
what
talking
up,
about
man?
you on our pre-show, man.
Salute. Yeah, shout out to
Y'all doing
YouTube
y'all
Streets. They're
thing.
blowing up, doing their thing. Long time, but
Well,
really
tap in.
killing right now. Congratulations. See you for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, I got some content we could react to first. You know, it's probably some information that you might know, but I didn't know. This,
Let's
like I
get into
said,
it.
this Epstein bullshit is going crazy. So let's get into it. I had a point about that interview, but I'm gonna save it. I was about to, but let's get into this first.
A sensible explanation as to how he got there in the first place. Jeffrey Edward Epstein,
That's exactly what we were talking about. How he got there in the first place.
Let's
born in
see.
Brooklyn in 1953, was the son of two working-class Jewish parents who, by all accounts, were completely normal. His mother, Pauline, worked a full-time job as a teacher's assistant while raising the kids, and his father worked for the City of New York's Parks Department as a gardener. Former friends and neighbors would use words like simple, humble, and gentle when talking about Epstein's parents, his brothers, and even Jeffrey himself. One former neighbor would later write that he was a nerdy little boy. People said that he was smart.
Imagine the shame of the whole family now, that whole last name. Oh man. Where are they at? The brother and all that. Sheesh. Get lost.
No.
Overweight, always smiling, but mostly quiet. In high school, Epstein liked algebra and calculus, and he was on the math team, but his teammates would later describe him as not sticking out all that much. But he was smart enough to graduate high school in 1969, 2 years early, and he would then attend Cooper Union College, a very small school in Manhattan known for offering completely free tuition. He studied math there, although after 2 years he transferred to NYU, but he ended up leaving there after 3 years without any college degree at all. But within 2 months, Epstein
No college degree. All right. First point. That's the first point on the board. He's not like a super hell of a guy, tall and super, you know what I mean, striking pause. He's not like that. No college degree. He's from Brooklyn. That's a plus because I give him a little gift to gab, I guess. But this guy did some extra shit. This guy, man, he made a deal with the devil for real.
had picked up a full-time job anyway. He'd become a high school math teacher, not just at any school, but at one of the most prestigious in Manhattan, a school for the children of the elites. The students were the children of highly paid bankers, developers.
So wait, his parents weren't rich though, right?
No. He went to a free school, but he got in with certain types of people, and at that school he probably met kids, and then when he went to NYU, met people, and built it off of that. Like you said, probably super charismatic guy, but really likable when you first meet him. Probably knows how to play it. Is in New York or from Brooklyn, like you said.
Wow.
Politicians, people that could afford to pay a tuition equal to $50,000 a year today. By the time he started teaching at Dalton, Epstein was almost a completely different person. Basically, as a teacher, Jeffrey Epstein was a sleazy scumbag and a bit of a disaster. In the mid-1970s, students at one of New York's most esteemed prep schools were surprised to encounter a new teacher who pushed the limits of the school's strict dress code, wandering the halls in a fur coat, gold chains, and an open shirt that exposed his chest. But it wasn't just a willingness to dress provocatively, it was how he interacted with students that left an impression on many of them for decades after. He was apparently popular among female students, as many young teachers might be, but the problem was that he not only embraced the attention, but also seemed to have chased after it. The story goes that at one point, he even started showing up at students' parties, including ones where they would have been drinking underage. But before this private school teacher in his mid-20s could ever get involved in something that might implicate him in a serious way, Epstein was fired from the Dalton School for performance issues.
I guarantee that it was some interaction with them little girls over there, but he was just so slick. He was a teacher. There was young girls there. or that's probably where he built that, that hunger, whatever it's
No, it's usually. I would imagine that predators usually flock to those positions. Well, they do. Predators flock towards those positions. Positions of power
Wow.
or
That's
younger.
why I see why a lot of dads want to homeschool their daughters and stuff. You got freaks out there
Yeah.
rushing to get the job. Motherfucker.
Simply wasn't a good teacher. But at the same time, though, he was able to move his career in a way that I could only describe as failing upwards. Because if you fast forward about 20 years, Epstein was no longer this sort of aimless college dropout who had a reputation for being a bit of a creep towards students at the school he worked at. It was almost as if Epstein would go on to become a completely, literally different person. When you look deeper at how exactly Epstein goes from this disgraced school teacher to flying a jetliner around the world while he rubs elbows with the rich and famous,
See, obviously he was in that school. He like, damn, I want these little girls. How could I do that? Then money became the obstacle. He said, I need a lot of money. He activated his sick brain. Girls is the motivation for for a man, an adult woman is the motivation. If you get out there, but his motivation was little girls, and that's just terrible.
It's awful. Puzzle pieces don't really fit together. It would only be a few months after getting fired from the Dalton School in 1976 until Epstein found another job. Specifically, he got hired at the giant investment firm Bear Stearns as an assistant to a floor trader. And it's the second time he did that in just a couple of years. Because if he did do one thing right while working at Dalton, it was impress his students' rich and powerful parents. Specifically, he was hired off the recommendation of a student's parent he had impressed who also happened to be friends with Alan Greenberg, CEO of the bajillion-dollar Bear Stearns investment bank. Greenberg was also known for coming from a working-class background, and he liked to hire people with what he called PSD degrees.
That's the start of it. Look at his eyes. Now let me start. Look at the dude. Man. Look at his eyes, bro. Sheesh. With the bow tie on. Wow.
Poor, smart, and desperate to be rich. Whether or not getting his foot in the door was his original goal while working at a private school, whatever it was, Epstein had launched himself up the ladder in a massive way. And it's kind of weird, but Epstein's time at this giant financial services firm, it wasn't all that different from his time as a teacher. Within just 4 years there, he gets promoted from junior assistant to limited partner, which is a pretty crazy trajectory for someone with no college degree. But then, just a year after that, he was actually asked to quit or be fired during an SEC investigation into insider trading at Bear Stearns. But for the rest,
it's so crazy, and then you want your teachers to care about the student. The teacher is a special person. They underpaid out here. But you want them, and they I think a lot of them is passionate about kids. They want to help kids, teach kids. That's a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? And when somebody's taking advantage of that, it's like that's a terrible, that's a crime that should be punishable by death right there. It's like you in there to get at the kids. You're a teacher. Wow, you know what I mean? Sheesh. And the thing is, how do they, is there any test to become a teacher, or are they just taking people with no record, with a high school diploma and stuff? Crazy shit, bro.
To the 1980s, he would start or get involved in a strange series of businesses that, if we didn't know they existed, kind of sound made up. Speaking of strange businesses, I wanted to let everyone know that the shirt I'm wearing in this video, I designed it and embroidered it myself, and it's on sale now. I think it's pretty obvious what the meaning is here, that our entire world is being sold out to evil people. So if you want to buy the most morbid and grim YouTube merch ever made, it is available. It's actually really high quality.
I'm sure you make a lot of money off of that too. And if you're talking, your mic is mute, so.
Shirts are super solid. They're made with American cotton, and the embroidery is done on location at my studio, and there's free shipping inside the US. So you can check out spiritworld.store, help support the channel in a really big way, and cop a super nice shirt at the same time. That's spiritworld.store to buy the American Realty shirt, or the link is also below in the description. Probably the strangest out of everything he did during this time was Towers Financial Corporation, a collection agency that was in the business of buying consumer medical debt. While he was hired as a consultant and paid the equivalent of $69,000 a month today, the first job he was given was to start using the company as a raiding vessel for corporate takeovers. In the 80s, there was this popular practice of buying a large stake in a corporation, then firing top executives, and then downsizing even further to increase the share value before selling. Basically, you take over and ruin a company just to make money from it. And their first move was to attempt a takeover of a kind of old, declining airline, Pan American World Airways, in 1987. A year later, they also tried to take over Emory Air Freight. And while both attempts failed, that wasn't the problem. The problem is that they were using money they didn't actually have. Basically, while this company was claiming to be a debt collection agency, they had also raised $500 million from investors while promising big returns. They used the money on private.
But that's one thing he said in that damn interview about credit. People don't understand the credit and debt. And I didn't understand. He said debt is more than the credit or some shit like that. So he knew like the deeper, like how to use credit and just your face card and get big things. So that's what he did in the beginning, pause. But
For sure. And that whole end of business is all image too.
the sick mind.
Private jets, fancy houses, expensive cars, and their plan for paying it all back was to attempt those crazy corporate takeovers that were supposed to make enough profit to cover everything. But then when the takeovers failed, they had nowhere to turn, no money to repay the investors, and it all fell apart. And so in 1993, Towers Financial would implode after being exposed as one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history. But when it came time for his former business partner, Stephen Hoffenberg, to be deposed and tell his side of the story in court, he didn't just throw Epstein under the bus, he basically blamed the whole thing on him. But by the time the company collapsed and was being investigated, Epstein had already been gone for 3 years. He would never be charged with anything related to Towers Financial.
He should have been in jail. That's crazy. He bounced.
Yeah.
Came
You
back.
see that.
That's crazy. Came back super duper rich. So it's like, y'all really gonna try to charge me with this shit? Like, whoa, that's wild.
Well, like,
Meanwhile,
what are they mad about? Like, their job was to gut companies, and he came in and he gutted theirs. Why are they mad at him?
I guess so. But you know, they got caught. That's what they mad about. And they wanted him to pay
He didn't.
for it, but he didn't. Nasty work. That's nasty work.
his business partner Hoffenberg, he would spend nearly 20 years in prison. I don't think we have an exact reason why Epstein was never charged for being on the inside of one of the biggest Ponzi schemes ever. One explanation is that Hoffenberg could have been lying. His testimony during his case was considered kind of generally unreliable. He would lie about a lot of stuff, wouldn't tell the truth. Another reason is that if Epstein was never really on the record as being deeply involved in the fraud, because apparently they didn't use his name for the trades or whatever it was, it's just hearsay. You know, we can't really prove that he's involved in the scam, so it's not worth pursuing if they did have Hoffenberg right in front of them and they could just punish him. However, another person would later write that it was only because of lazy prosecution that Epstein walked away and that he was definitely involved as far as anyone can tell, especially because it's well recorded.
Only because he was smarter than y'all guys, which is didn't use y'all brain at all. He kept his name off of the stuff and told y'all what to do. He said, "This is what we gonna do to get this money." And when it go down, he probably ain't telling what's gonna happen when it go down. Cause them dudes like, yo, Epstein did it too. Epstein, he out of there. His name ain't involved in nothing now. He's built super rich to where ain't nobody charging him with nothing unless they got a real case. Like, that's ridiculous.
He was getting that 25 grand like clockwork.
It's making me not trust the super slick rich guys, the guys that are super duper slick and rich. It's like, nah, because you know that type of deviant mind. We'll get into that.
Reported that during the peak of the Towers Financial scam, Epstein was physically accompanying Hoffenberg around the world on his jet. He was meeting with investors. He was with him a lot of the time. And that's because somehow, after walking away from a moderately high-paying consultant job and apparently having nothing to do with the hundreds of millions of dirty money they made, he somehow pops up again a couple years later, completely reinvented, like his old self never existed at all. But the idea that Epstein's career is just kind of a story about failing upwards, like I mentioned earlier, that doesn't even really explain how he ends up where he did. Yeah, a teacher at a rich private school might get hired by one of his students' rich parents, okay? But 15 years later, walking away unscathed from one of the worst financial crimes in American history, I mean, seriously, most of us probably don't remember, but Towers Financial was absolutely horrible.
Wow. And you know, they compared him to the devil and Satan, asked him if he was Satan. But you know, think about the total opposite of something like him. You would think, you know, the all of our prophets were poor, you know, from Jesus Christ, Elijah, all of them were poor, you know. That's the total, you know, I find that to be the anti him, you know what I mean? And they are all poor. That's why I said like these guys with a lot of money and these scheming to get money, money, money.
Yeah. Well,
Nah.
money can turn to power, and power can corrupt. You know?
Big facts, big facts. There's something about I gotta watch them all. And Jay Z name in the Epstein files, and it's like, wait a minute, throwing up that sign over the rock.
Even back at that point in his life, a lot of his
I
situations
don't trust
sound like a
capitalism no
conspiracy.
more. These
But of
super
course, that's only
rich
one of
folk.
these really odd stories that have been told about Epstein's careers over the years that imply all these different truths about how he ended up where he did. Multiple people over the years, journalists, friends, business partners, they all recalled Epstein suggesting or hinting that he worked for an intelligence agency, although he never specified which one. But in the mid to late 80s, during the same time he was working at Towers Financial, he also worked with Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi businessman with ties to the CIA and Mossad, who is best known for being the middleman in transferring American weapons from Israel to Iran during the Iran-Contra affair. Add on to that the fact that Epstein was later found to have a fake Austrian passport with multiple stamps from the Middle East. It only further paints a very confusing picture.
Wow.
This is what I was talking about.
The CIA shit.
And the Mossad thing, some sort of high-end intelligence agency asset, or someone aligned with them in one way or another.
That's well.
About Epstein's career.
Because you see, remember that movie, The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino?
Of
Was
course.
it with a lawyer? Think about that. He was able to. He had all these passports, all this shit, all this that.
No. You're thinking about something else. That's not Devil's Advocate. That was a lawyer movie.
Yeah, what Al Pacino was the you know
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, Al
What's the name of
Pacino
that
and Keanu
Something the
Reeves.
devil.
Yeah, he was the devil,
Yeah.
but they were
And
lawyers.
we already know movies always send messages about real shit. You know, these great stories. You be like, where would somebody just write this type of shit? It's because they went through some shit and then later they put it in, make it a movie, and then thinking they disguising it to where nobody. But there's some things in these movies you already know. This dude, wow.
There just isn't a normal, sensible conclusion to this part of Epstein's life. Even after connecting all the dots, it still doesn't make sense. He starts off by dropping out of college without getting his degree, only to get hired at a prestigious school that he then gets fired from for being a bad teacher, only to then get hired at a hugely prestigious investment firm that he also then gets fired from, only to then end up getting implicated in one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history that he somehow never faces a single charge for being involved in. Along the way, he acquires fake passports, he does business with arms dealers in the Middle East, and at the end of all of it, he's filthy rich. At every single turn, you see him get not punished, but actually rewarded for stealing, cheating, and lying. But
We know America's built on that, but damn,
No, but dude, it gets crazier though.
they
Because
get
then,
crazier.
no,
Sheesh.
'cause then, like I was just thinking about him and the bullshit. I completely forgot all about Ghislaine Maxwell. They just showed a picture of her with him. You got
Yeah,
to get to know who her father is, bro. That's a
I'm sure
deep
he
one.
will. Oh my
No,
God,
you
bro.
have no clue who this man was. It was insane. He
And what's
controlled
sad
he
is,
controlled a lot of media.
for real, oh my God,
Yeah, dude. And then he disappeared and died on a boat. It's crazy.
this is sick stuff going on, bro.
craziest part of all of that is that that was just the beginning. In the late 80s, Epstein forms a new company, Epstein & Co., a wealth management firm where he establishes immediately that he's not going to take any clients with a net worth of under $1 billion. And his first client would indeed be a prolific billionaire, although the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Leslie Wexner would only create more questions than it answers. Les Wexner wasn't just rich, he was one of the most successful retailers in modern American history. After opening his own clothing store in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio in 1963, he grew his brand The Limited to 100 stores within 12 years. By the mid-1980s, he was purchasing other brands, one of which was the failing Victoria's Secret for $1 million. But within 10 years, by 1992, he grew it to a value of $1 billion. Over the years, he continued to buy and start more brands, Abercrombie & Fitch, Lane Bryant, Bath & Body Works, the White Barn Candle Company. Basically, if you've ever stepped into a mall in North America, you've seen Les Wexner's businesses. His brands still fill suburban shopping centers today. But Leslie Wexner was also a very strange person. In 1985, the year that he became a billionaire for the first time, he began building up his personal brand with interviews about his businesses, his life, but the man that the world was introduced to as the owner of Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie & Fitch, he seemed to sit somewhere in the gray area between the spiritual warrior and
Let me guess, he was a dirtbag.
mentally ill. On the morning Leslie Wexner became a billionaire, he woke up worried, but this was not unusual. He always wakes up worried because of his D-book, which pokes and prods and gives him the itchiness of the soul that he calls hins in Yiddish. Sometimes he runs away from it on the roads of Columbus, Ohio, or drives away from it in one of his Porsches, or flies from it in one of his planes. But then later it comes back, with his first coffee, his first meeting, nudging at him again. A D-book is essentially translated from Yiddish as a demon. As the article continues, it states that Wexner has been with the D-book since he was a boy, and that his father recognized it and referred to it as churning. He told New York Magazine
The
that
D-book. I know you got one, right, B Rad? Everybody got a
No, but I've heard of this thing.
yeah.
I've heard it called a Dybbuk, but yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it. It's like a dark spirit that kind of attaches themselves to somebody, and in that culture, it's common. But what they do often, they'll be able to get it into an object, and then they'll put that object in a box called the Dybbuk box, and that contains it. And as long as you don't open it, this shouldn't be a problem.
Maybe this AI is saying it wrong, though. But nah, that's him talking.
his D-book
No,
makes him wander from house to house,
I'm sure it's pronounced many different ways, but that's just the way that I had heard it. Dybbuk. But yeah, same thing. That's what we're talking about.
wanting more and more, and swallowing companies larger than his own. In other words, it compels him to accumulate more money and more power with no end in sight. Wexner also describes the D-book as an integral part of his genius. Throughout his career, he had a habit of cutting people off abruptly, even longtime friends and business partners. People would call him impossible to know. One person who interviewed him early in his life said that he acted as if he had met the devil. At one point, he bought every property near his mansion in Ohio so no one could be near him. He even built a massive estate modeled after an English manor, complete with secret passageways and interior surveillance, as well as...
I'm sorry, everybody, when you're rich, that's just, you get that type of money. Most humans, yeah, I want this with the cameras and all this and that. Like, that's not really that unusual. He's fucking rich as hell.
Yeah.
walls outside. People would say that it didn't even seem like he enjoyed being wealthy. He just craved control of everything around him. He would micromanage every detail of the stores he owned, from the layouts to the fabric used.
See, I always got to check stuff, you feel me? I'm just saying, I just said he's a dirtbag. Maybe I got to, take those words back. But from what I'm hearing from them, he's just a rich guy, so we're not going to, we're not going to go with no fugazi stuff. Like, he built a big mansion and he's micromanages all his stores. Yeah, that's why
he's definitely an eccentric. He's definitely an eccentric weirdo.
Okay, I'm just looking for the
not a crime.
Against, the foul stuff. Not even the crime, just the foul.
No, it's not. It's not about him being foul. It's where Epstein gets his money from. Keep going.
To the clothes. And this is the man who would be the first big client of Epstein's private elite money management firm. Starting in the late 80s, Leslie Wexner handed Jeffrey Epstein practically complete control over his personal fortune.
Okay.
If you wanted to be funny, you could say that Epstein himself was Leslie Wexner's D-book. But in reality, the dynamic that Epstein had with Wexner makes him almost look like a parasite. Virtually from the moment that Epstein arrived on the scene in Columbus, Ohio, where Wexner's brands were based, Mr. Wexner's friends and colleagues were mystified as to why a renowned businessman in the prime of his career would place such trust in an outsider with a thin resume and scant financial experience. And it was around the time that Epstein launched Epstein & Co., his investment services company, that his life kind of just seems to completely change all over again for what feels like the 100th time in a row.
He made a deal with the devil, homie.
By the early 90s, he's moving like someone who's in charge of an empire. He's flying around the world in a giant jetliner. He's acquiring massive properties around the US, but at the same time, his name never shows up in Forbes. He has no public filings, no client list, no office, but to the people around him, it looks like he owns the world. By the late 90s, Epstein's doing what I could only describe as flying too close to the sun. He's friends with Donald Trump, the Prince of England, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He even buys a literal island where he would build an extravagant compound for hosting parties. But after a series of conspicuous stunts, one of which was a trip to Africa on his private plane with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey as passengers, it gets to a point where Epstein is too big to ignore. The media, the general public, people are wondering how Epstein made all this money, where he came from, what's the point of everything he does? How he got to this level of social status is yet another strange story in this never-ending list of
See, when we used to talk about making a deal with the devil, we joke in the ghetto, you know, because we poor. Hell yeah, shit, give me that money. I'll make that deal. But they don't understand making that deal comes with a lot of other stuff, you know, and the
Yes,
devil is
yes.
dealing with all that other stuff, and that's on you now, dealing with the kids and the this and the that and all of the nasty shit. You're a part of that now. You make that deal. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? It's like wow.
Being poor in life isn't worth spending eternity in hell.
Facts.
strange stories. And a big part of it would be this very, very strange story of his connection to the Maxwell family media empire. Robert Maxwell was born Ian Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hawk. He was a media tycoon businessman with a really
Boy named Hawk. That boy named Hawk.
It was like a fat Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's who you were just talking about, right? We about to get into it. That's her dad.
Yes.
Look at her. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm sorry. She
Really
wasn't a
good.
bad looking person.
Really good. Really good.
But she was about money. You look in her eyes, you see money, you know.
Oh, she's a cold
devil.
piece, man, for sure.
She don't want no she's not interested in no dude, romance, all that shit.
No, this is like watch. They're a team. Watch. Goes deep.
strange life. After growing up Jewish in a small town in Romania, almost his entire family was tragically killed at Auschwitz. But he ends up joining the army in France after escaping, and he gets a bunch of medals for storming a Nazi machine gun tower and surviving. After the war, he changes his name to Robert Maxwell, moves to England, and gets elected into the British Parliament. But he also quickly starts building a media empire across Europe at the same time. Over a period of around 50 years, he ends up owning the Daily Mirror, he owns part of MTV in Europe, the London Daily News. At one point, he even buys the US-based Macmillan Publishers for over $2 billion in the late 80s. But throughout his life, he was also closely linked to Israeli intelligence. Robert Maxwell allegedly helped Israeli spies distribute bug surveillance software to two of the most important nuclear research and security facilities in the US. At the same time, the United Kingdom would call him most likely a double or triple agent financed by Russia. He had known links to MI6, KGB, and Mossad all at the same time. Anyway, in the early 90s, Robert Maxwell is deeply in debt, his companies are struggling, and just a few days before he was scheduled to default on a $50 million loan, he apparently fell off the side of his yacht and drowned in the Canary Islands.
Out of there.
This is exactly what I was telling you. This video is
on
perfect.
the island somewhere chilling. This motherfucker
This
is on
video
it.
is perfect. This kid's autism runs exactly on my line.
This kid killing it, right? Hold on, let's shout him out. What's his name? We got the Volk guys. How you say that?
Volkgeist.
The Russian stuff, huh? He's killing it though. Salute. Yeah, man. He definitely not dead. He's definitely, if he is dead, he died on natural causes somewhere laid up on the island. Epstein had an island. Imagine what he had. You know, he had an island too. Please, they got islands.
Yeah, he swims.
Shortly after that, news comes out that he had been stealing hundreds of millions of dollars out of the pension funds from all the companies he owned to keep it.
He was just stacking up all that bread. He was
Just
like, I know what I'm gonna
people's
do.
livelihoods.
I know what I'm gonna do. Take advantage of this business shit that these dummies doing. Do this, do all these companies, rob all of them for hundreds of millions, stack it all up, fake my death, and get the fuck out of here. Bye bye, retirement.
Sounds plausible.
His lifestyle afloat, and his already tarnished legacy was ruined forever. But of course, that's not before he was given a lavish state funeral in Israel, attended by the prime minister and president and all current and former heads of Israeli intelligence. The point being, though, is that one of Robert Maxwell's 9 children, Ghislaine, had long been a prominent socialite in London and New York, and after her father died and the family empire collapses in the early 90s, she ends up living in Manhattan, where she would end up dating none other than Jeffrey Epstein. Notably,
Now, you think they were really dating? Like, is that because I don't see him dating
No.
girls his age?
No, but he needs a person to make him look good and to make him look visual.
Okay, so they definitely made a deal.
Oh, it's all about appearances.
They made a deal in the beginning. Like, let's work this out.
Yeah, and she's gonna tie us back to her family's involved with Mossad and all that shit. And they just keep going.
Same deal they made with the devil. But wait, is that Kevin Spacey right there? Who is that? No, that's
No.
somebody else. Right?
Oh yes,
That is him, right?
that is definitely him.
Oh my God, they all hanging.
Weirdos.
Ghislaine, the daughter of this internationally known billionaire spy for Israel, would become the primary link between Epstein and his powerful social network. Out of many things she would do for him, she would be the person who introduces him to Prince Andrew, Saudi royals, celebrities, politicians. Of course, Epstein was already pretty well connected, but his relationship with Maxwell was pivotal in him inserting himself into the upper echelon of society. In March of 2003, Vanity Fair journalist Vicky Ward sets out to write a profile about Jeffrey Epstein and figure out what exactly he's all about once and for all. Lately, Jeffrey Epstein's high-flying style has been drawing oohs and ahs. The bachelor financier lives in New York's largest private residence, claims to only take billionaires as clients, and flies celebrities like Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey on his Boeing 727.
Imagine how much hot girls his age was on after him.
For sure.
How long did it take to realize, oh, he don't like us? We got the hottest blondes, the hottest everything. His age trying to get at him, and he don't want that. I'm kind of scared because they not. I don't. I'm a grown man now. I'm 40 something. But imagine if you grew up getting all of the girls you wanted type stuff and whatever. It can't be human nature to be like, oh, I want something else. That's what these dudes are doing, though. It's disgusting. I swear to God, man.
That's a problem I don't want to have, and I don't even know, man.
I know you're right. My bad, but I'm just saying, man. Jeez, it's sick. It's sick. But I am happy that I was deprived of getting everything I wanted at certain times. I'm happy for that shit because now I'm perfectly, I think righteous, as righteous as I can be. Shit, it's just.
I'm happy with who I've turned out to be.
Facts.
But Pierce's air of mystery in the picture changes. And her point was that after peeling back his mask of mystery, something far more alarming than anticipated would be revealed. Her research led her to question the idea that Epstein made all of his money with an exclusive and private investment firm where he'd only take on billionaires as clients. She suggests that Leslie Wexner is the only client Epstein ever had, but even more than that his business isn't really how he made his money at all. What she found made it look like Epstein really wasn't a genius investor at all, but probably acquired the majority of his mysterious fortune from the Tower's financial Ponzi scheme, which he was far more involved in than the official story would suggest.
So he did the same thing her pops did. Oh, let's build a company, finesse it out of all the bread, stack it up, and then bounce up out of here. He ain't have to put his name in it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This plan keeps working. He keeps getting out of trouble.
Wow.
Almost like people need him around for some reason.
He's a guy from Brooklyn, Coney Island. I know a lot of gangsters from there. You feel me? For sure.
Oh, nobody reads this stuff.
And stuff
Nobody's
like that.
Nobody finessed billions of dollars out of somebody.
Yeah, and then think about the after that the extortion game when you're getting this information on these powerful people.
That's a very high.
That's priceless. That's priceless.
It's a lucrative game.
She essentially made him look like a fraud, a con man with no substantial investing history, hiding behind the persona.
Bill Clinton lame ass all up in there. But you know what about his interview with Vlad? I'm sorry to stop this, but I just gotta bring this up before I forget it. When he said what caused that crash in 2008? I was in prison in 2008, and he was in jail. That's crazy as hell. But he was talking about it and how they were on the phone trying to figure it out. He said he asked him what caused it in his opinion. He said Bill Clinton. That's what he said. And I think about I grew up under a Democratic family and all that, and how everybody, all the black people, oh, we love Bill Clinton. But then now later you think about the crack laws that made people go to jail for all these years for stupid, you know what I mean? And then you think about this, and it's like this guy and then he's hanging out with Epstein on the island too. At that, it's like, whoa, this motherfucker had us fooled.
Yes,
man,
for sure. For sure. I was raised in a Democrat house too. Bill Clinton was a good guy. Everybody liked him. We played the saxophone. He had soul.
I swear to God. And then he came to our school. No, he was supposed to come around. I went to some school by a good man, Richard Green in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. So it was like a publicized school because it was a private type of situation. And he came through. I think and he had a saxophone, and he was like, "Oh, Bill Clinton got soul, yeah."
See,
love him.
that's wild.
Fucking crazy, yo. He was foul.
Of an elite financial mastermind
But was he just? Yeah, he was just. He was a part of that team, bro.
while building up a social network to make him look a lot more sophisticated than he really was. It's even worse than what they did publish about him is what they didn't. While she was working on her profile of Epstein for Vanity Fair, Vicky Ward was approached by two sisters who claimed that Epstein had sexually assaulted them in the mid-90s. One of them would have been under 18 at the time. They had even notified authorities, although no action was taken by the NYPD. Allegedly, Epstein had promised the younger sister that he could get her access to programs that would earn her admission to Ivy League schools she desperately wanted to get into. For the older sister, he offered financial support for her art career. Once he had them alone, they were both assaulted. Originally, their accusations were written into his profile in Vanity Fair, but while Vicky Ward and her team were working on the story, Epstein started showing up at their office and asking him not to include any mentions of the young women. Not only does Epstein show up at their office, but in that same week, a bullet and the head of a dead cat were placed on the front steps of Vanity Fair's editor-in-chief's home.
Imagine, you know, he did that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I just need you to scare him a little bit, man. Come on. How much you
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, Jan, just please. He's a fucking, oh man.
He's a
Coked
sleazeball.
up. Oh man.
After that, no mentions of these accusations were included in the final article. Vicky Ward would later write that she was so afraid of Epstein that she hired security to watch over her babies in the NICU when she gave birth prematurely a few months later. But I think ultimately these profile pieces of Epstein that painted him as this mysterious, maybe a little shady, maybe a little bit of a con artist,
Scumbag made her give birth under the stress that she was under because he tried to scare her
Yeah,
with some old
definitely. That's
scumbag
definitely-
move.
That's
What a piece
definitely
of-
what happened.
Wow, man. We
As,
should have.
as soon as she said premature, I was like, well, that's from stress.
That's disgusting. You right.
That
We
is
need a
disgusting.
shooting gun range.
He could
or
have
something.
killed. He could have killed her and that baby, just from the stress alone. You know what I mean? Like not even.
He's scumbag.
That's some crazy shit,
this
bro.
quirky, whatever. I think in a way it inadvertently helped him in the end. Even though they were casting shadows of doubt over his honesty and his business ethics, whatever, it wasn't in a way that raised serious concerns from the general public because they were leaving out the evidence, the accusations of serious sexual crimes they had heard while working on it. Into the mid-2000s, Epstein starts building up a new side of his persona, something he could really be known for, and that's being a patron of science. It gives dimension, right? Like he's a mysterious businessman who
Here we go with trying to be God and explain the unexplainable. So pour millions of dollars into trying to explain the miracles of God, and then you found out, hey, you can't do it. It's just a miracle. You find that out. You fucking sleazy. Let me stop.
donates all of his money to science, and that kind of makes me poke less holes in who he is.
People sometimes wonder, like we're scientists, hanging out with him to get with these young women or something. There are some scientists like that. They were spending time with him because he was giving their laboratories money that they didn't have to write grants for.
Why was he doing that, though?
He clearly understood social engineering.
Salute Joe Rogan, of course, the king.
He understood that rich people they can get anything they want, except the one thing they can't easily control is their reputation, because that requires other people's perceptions, and just being rich doesn't make you necessarily respected.
He donated tens of millions of dollars, some to MIT, some to Harvard. He would host dinners with guests like Stephen Hawking, Martin Nowak, Steven Pinker, some of the most...
See, that's probably where he was justifying his evil actions in his brain by, I'm donating to this, that. Fuck
No, I think that was all just like this guy saying that's all just political moves. I got him
connections.
I gotta
I
get
get
to
that
this.
too, but it's convenient. Trust me. They
Because if you-
also look at it
If
like
you
I'm doing
donate all
good.
that money, if you donated like $10 million to Harvard, then you're gonna go to whatever's Harvard's dinner of the year that
Yeah.
all the biggest people in society are gonna be at. Now you got access to that shit.
You might have your name up somewhere too, type shit.
And if you can move like Jeffrey Epstein, now you got access to almost everybody in that room. Potentially.
Guaranteed. But guess what? They love, that's all. Yeah, that's a part of it. That's 70-something% of it. But then at the back of their brain, they're like, look, I donated to this, that. Because when dude asked them in the interview, you feel like the devil, you think you're the devil? That's when the donations start coming up. Oh, help with syphilis. I helped this girl with, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, of course. No, because you absolutely, people will use it for that for sure. But it's not just to say I did it. It's
I know,
mainly
there's reasons.
from it, and that's the secondary. Is yeah, no, look, I did this. I'm a good guy.
You're right.
most famous intellectuals in the Western world. He
And
would
a quote he said, and I forgot what jackass said it, what old fucking ancient, but Epstein said a quote: "Money spent on something good is good," or some shit like that, to where basically it don't matter where the money came from. If he spent it on something good, then it's
Money
good.
spent on something good is good money spent.
Yeah, type shit. See, that's what I'm saying though. That's how they justify the shit though. The fuck shit.
branded himself as a
that
science
also-
philanthropist interested in genetics.
Sorry, what'd you say?
That's actually a really good way of putting it, because that can also come from a really good person saying, "No, man, good money spent is it's a good thing."
Yeah, but evil could twist that up quick. Oh, great, perfect.
Yeah, of course.
AI, physics, his donations to Harvard would exceed $9 million. Maybe he was trying to build a big support network. Maybe he was buying friends who would defend his character in the future. Maybe his intentions were even more bizarre than that. At many of his gatherings, he would talk about a desire to inseminate large amounts of women at one time at his ranch in New Mexico, with the aim of
And this is from a guy who has no kids, right? He got kids?
breeding
No. None that we know of.
None that we know of.
He's pretty
You said our mayor is his kid. I thought you.
He's
I'm
pretty
sorry.
jacked.
I'm just playing.
Yeah. I mean, there's that.
This ain't no laugh
He
show.
but it just, I said, there's more than 0% chance that he might be.
Yikes! Look at this fucking guy. Who do you think he is?
He's pretty jacked.
He look like Starsky and Hutch. What's the Hutch?
He does.
the human race. But whatever his real intentions were, his intellectual friends loved him, or at least some of them did. Other people he knew considered him strange, off-putting, bizarre. People would describe that Epstein's interest in science and art seems only centered around enhancing his persona, with no genuine interest in technical details at all. While famed mathematician Martin Nowak would call Epstein a genius, Steven Pinker would later tell a different story. I found
Anybody who was claiming him, he's a genius.
Just watch.
You
That's
was
what
over
I'm saying,
there.
like, prominent
He was
people
on that island.
He's a genius.
it irritating to talk to him, all the more so because the reason he was in the conversation was because he had given money to these various projects. He likes smoozing with smart and intellectual people, but he couldn't really, or had very little interest in exploring actual issues. He would wisecrack, change subjects, or get bored after a few seconds. Daniel Dennett, philosopher and cognitive scientist, had a similar experience. He asked me manipulative questions as a conversational gambit. I remember he said, "Suppose I gave you $1 billion. What would you do with it?" He had no interest in my answer. It was just about showing off his wealth. The chemist Stuart Pivar attended multiple of Epstein's summits on his island in the Caribbean and had this to say. He couldn't concentrate on a subject for more than 2 minutes before having to change the subject, because he didn't know what anyone was talking about and would blurt out the dumbest things. In particular, he had an affinity for posing pseudo-deep questions like, "What is up?" or "What is down?" at the scientific summits he hosted on his island. Pivar recalled that the act eventually wore thin. After a couple of minutes, because he had no attention span whatsoever, he would interrupt the conversation and say things like, "What has that got to do with pussy?" And that was
He's a buffoon, a freak, a fucking gluttonous, fucking satanic freak boy who found out how to get some bread because he had some good friends. When you
That's
got
crazy,
if you
dude.
got friends in the 1%, yeah, you could do shit. From this sounded like he was just a buffoon. The interview, he came across kind of, I don't know, a little slow too. I ain't gonna lie, but he, and he exposed a lot of stuff. But
Look,
yeah.
you can say a lot of words and not say anything. We watch it happen every day on media. They just talk and don't say anything. Politicians in Congress talk, and they don't actually say shit. And he was good at that. But that's why he kept switching things up. He's not smart. He's just good at crafting and getting around people, and there had to be more to it to get all this money out of people. He definitely was doing something that had them by the balls, and they gave him his money and influence. But we're trying to find out what that is.
Yeah, but that's something you can't find, and that was something he was talking about. Like he just got that shit, whatever.
He's got that knack. He's got the gift of gab. Like he's got a personable. He's able to do that, and he's able to con people. He's a con man. He's just a con man, bro.
He made a deal with the devil. He's a con man. You're right.
100%.
That's another big part of his persona. Epstein never married, but his romantic interests were still a focal point in his social life. Specifically, he liked young women. Lawrence Krauss, a longtime friend, would say that Epstein
I mean, look at this guy. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Creepy.
I'm sorry.
He looks
He
like
always
that's
has
what
women
his game
ages
is.
19 to 20.
What'd you say?
He looks like that's his game. He's into that.
I'm sorry, bro.
23 around him. Donald Trump would say in 2002 that Epstein likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. The people who interviewed him in the early 2000s.
That's what Trump said, fool. That's what he
Bad
said.
idea. He called it early.
No, but he said just like me.
No, he said he likes beautiful women like I do, but he likes them on the young side.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. You trying to shut me down then? All right. Let's go.
2000s would note that it was regular for him to have one or multiple young models in their early 20s near him at all times, even during his scientific summit gatherings. At one point, his friend Woody Allen wrote him a birthday note that would include a joke about Epstein being a vampire.
Woody Allen, the top.
That's a crazy friend to have.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 peas in a pot.
For sure.
Look at these two. Oh my God, man.
With a harem of young female vampires that work at his palace. For Epstein and his friends, his obsession with young women was an open joke. It was one that they went back to often on top of that. They weren't hiding it. It was one of their favorite go-to lines. But even when you take into account the fact that Epstein probably did get a lot of his money from a Ponzi scheme and he was doing dirty business, insider trading, like everything in the book, right? It's also kind of typical. There are a lot of people who have done stuff that's way worse than him and we don't really care. I think we all understand that billionaire capitalists become billionaire capitalists by exploiting, abusing, taking advantage of the financial system. We expect that. It's not really considered a sin in today's society, at least not in the way that we expect someone to be punished for it. And we also expect celebrities to be creeps. I mean, we have Leonardo DiCaprio. He throws his girlfriends in the trash when they turn 25. And people joke about that more than anything else. Like, we don't expect there to be some serious consequence. Years later, Vicky Ward, who had originally brought Epstein's lifestyle into the spotlight, would write, "If only it had all ended there. This was what it had been meant to be. A gossipy piece about a shadowy, kind of sinister, but essentially harmless man who preferred track pants to suits, but somehow lived very large and had wealthy, important friends, hung out with models, and shied away from the press. But it didn't." Because behind the curtain of money and mystery he built up, Epstein wasn't just another con man. And once the mask did slip, it would reveal horrors on a level that no one was ready for. The real story of Jeffrey Epstein was just getting started. In 1990, Epstein bought a house in Palm Beach worth a little bit more than $10 million. For Epstein and guys like him, it wasn't a place to live, it was a status symbol, like buying a BMW. If you wanted to be perceived as rich and powerful and well-connected, it was almost a requirement to have a place in Palm Beach. And for 15 years, it was his second home for parties, networking, visiting in the winter. But in 2005, his life in Palm Beach would also become the center of the unraveling of his life and reputation, or at least it should have.
I feel like she was involved in some of the episodes with the girls in there. She was
She was the curator.
Nah, I think she was in there too, like involved. She into that type of stuff, I think.
Maybe.
Why like money wasn't the motivation for her, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe
I
it
never
was.
said relationship
Because
was
his
anything.
money come with the power and pristine and all that shit because the connections he got. So I don't know if you're right. He had the
I think
president
they were
over
just
there.
kind of like a power couple, like a creepy, washed up on their rise power couple. Like she came from a rich, powerful, influential father who was tied to like, secret agents and shit. And then he died, so now she's kind of in the wind, and he's on his rise. Glommed his money up, some rich dude, and took all that. Now the two of them are trying to make a rise back in the higher up world. He wants to get there for the first time. She wants to get back there.
Her dad said, "You're nothing without me," and she said, "Yeah, let me show you
Kick
something.
you off this
Way
boat, take
powerful."
your empire.
Makes sense.
Been. In March of that year, an anonymous woman contacts the Palm Beach Police Department and claims that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been paid to strip and massage Epstein. The story was that the girl, who attended a boarding school for troubled teens, had attracted.
I'm sorry, but the sad part is these stories weren't believed back then, guaranteed. They were buried. But now in retrospect, it's like, wow, she was telling the absolute truth about this.
For sure,
Disgusting, sicko. And it's sad the way she got treated. I'm sure she got treated wrong.
I'm sure. She was a
Unwanted
troubled
attention.
teen. She was a troubled teen, they said, so nobody's going to believe her.
Oh, yeah. That's the first thing they do. Troubled teen.
Yep.
That don't mean she's not a human being and a good person because she went through this or that. So, nah. Cut it up. Because technically today, according to their little standards, we all troubled teens. Every one of our friends, everybody in the poor coming up. In this whatever.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe any of us
at all.
From other students when she showed up to school with $300 in her purse. With other kids gossiping about her and making a scene, eventually the school police officer and therapist interviewed her to ask exactly what was going on. Visibly distressed, she described that an older friend had taken her to visit a massive waterfront mansion, where she was led by a 25-year-old blonde woman to a bedroom with a massage table where a man named Jeff demanded she undress and massage him. He also sexually assaulted her during their encounter. When she was shown a photo of Epstein as part of a lineup, she identified him immediately. The local police spent over a year building a case on him, completely undercover. They interviewed more than a dozen victims. They found hidden cameras in his house. They found a large number of photos of girls throughout his home, some of which were the girls they had been interviewing, but it just got worse and worse. Without being so graphic that YouTube limits the video, Jeffrey Epstein had a network of girls recruiting dozens of younger teenagers from all over the Palm Beach area to give him nude massages and sexually assaulting them while they were in the process. The police even found several girls' high school report cards in the trash at his home. It wasn't just this one thing.
High school
It was starting to look like his life in Florida was centered around abusing underage girls. It's evidence that he wasn't just finding victims in the Palm Beach area, but that there were girls being flown in from Brazil, Eastern Europe, and France as well. Possibly.
But that's some diabolical shit. Oh, you get an A, you get this money. I don't know why does he have the report cards there? To justify it in his head, like, oh, you're doing good.
He's just been all the way free. He's probably about power and shit. He's just like playing all sorts of manipulative games with them.
See who's the smart ones and who's not, and
probably wants to know
get the numbers on that because he's a numbers guy. Wow. This is crazy.
See if he can fix their grades for him somehow.
Thanks to help from Jean-Luc Brunel, owner of the modeling agency M2C, a company that Epstein had personally invested in. And so in July of 2006, after 13 months of investigating, Epstein was arrested by the Palm Beach police for procuring a minor for prostitution. Epstein ended up pleading guilty to both of the charges brought on him by the state of Florida, soliciting prostitution and soliciting a minor. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison. After 13 months in the Palm Beach County Jail, he registered as a sex offender and was released on good behavior, only attracting a little bit of mostly local press coverage. At the time, it wasn't really seen as a huge issue. A creepy rich guy in Palm Beach got caught, did his time, and the world moved on. Even stranger, though, is how it affected Epstein after he got out of prison, once he was back in New York to rebuild his old life, because it didn't. Epstein's social circle didn't reject or shun him for what he had done. Arguably, after jail, he was only more admired by his peers than he had been before. Almost.
That sounds like an example of the power of clout. Oh, it's going to be, everybody's going to be there. Everybody. Like, fucking people.
That's crazy.
Or they all sick like him. Hey, maybe, who knows? Like, because you know about what's going on and you with it. So everybody caught seen in them parties should be, held accountable as far as I'm concerned. Like, because y'all know what's up. Who was that? That's somebody famous right there, ain't it? Who was that?
No.
That looked like a fucking big actor to me.
Immediately after returning home, he hosted a dinner that would be attended by journalist Katie Couric, filmmaker Woody Allen, comedian Chelsea Handler, and more. And then, a few weeks after that, he hosted a birthday party for Prince Andrew, fourth in line to the British throne. Some people even publicly defended him, including Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical...
Oh, okay. Look who publicly defended him. Look. This is the guy.
That's his boy.
This is a guy who publicly defended him. That's a big surprise. That's a big surprise.
That's Creeper McCreeperson.
Big surprise.
physicist that Epstein had raised money for in the past. Though colleagues have criticized him over his relationship with Epstein, Krauss insists, "I don't feel tarnished in any way by my relationship with Jeffrey. I feel raised by it." Another person would say, "I've never condoned paying for sex, but if a young lady lies about her age, it's her own fault." Of course, though, it wasn't all positive. One person, the wife of Aeropostale CEO John Howard, would say, "All I see here is that if you have big money or are famous, you get a pass. Where I'm from, you'd be a social pariah. But the only thing..."
They all got. Oh yeah, he right. I'm fucking. I mean, yeah.
Regular ass dude.
That gets you shunned in New York society is poverty. A jail sentence doesn't matter anymore. It wasn't like people didn't know what Epstein had done. It was in the news. They just didn't care. Publicist Peggy Segal would say that I and many others that know Epstein describe him as brilliant. His unique mind is what attracts the world's smartest people to his home. Last September, with Segal's help, Epstein hosted a breakfast.
She's a glazer. She's a, Opportunist, greedy broad.
Just after Yom Kippur, a group of 120 friends brought their children over for a buffet dinner. One attendee, a New York real estate heir, has known Epstein for 30.
Oh, maybe that's where them pictures come from, where you see them all looking at the kids and smiling and laughing. And he said they brought all their kids in for a dinner. Wow. But Epstein looking at him recruiting.
5 years and visited him
Look at him. Oh my God.
Shopping.
while he was in prison. He said, "The side I've been reading about is a side I don't know." He said he considers Epstein one of the smartest people he knows and often asks him for investment advice.
They all got the same look too. That's wow. You notice that? They all got the same look. Glasses.
You would say, unless I've seen it, I don't focus on it. Even his business continued on as it had before. Nothing changed. In 2015, he made a big investment in an Israeli startup founded by ex-Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who would also come stay in New York apartments owned by Epstein multiple times, while Epstein would visit Israel frequently as well. He even made a connection with Bill Gates, who supposedly was introduced to him while looking for donors for the Gates Foundation.
Yeah, Gates, I don't know. Gates came out speaking, oh, I don't know why I didn't know nothing about. Nah, I feel like you might have known something. It's like, come on. The word everybody knew amongst everybody in that level of social, wherever they at, knew the rumor was this. You ain't the only one. You ain't, because you're not naive or dumb. You're very smart, motherfucker. Even though you want to wear them glasses and play like, oh, I'm just a good guy. Yeah, whatever. I think he knew too. I'm sorry. I think Bill Gates knew what's going on. He was probably with it.
In 2014, again, this is 5-6 years after he went to jail. Gates even flew on Epstein's plane to visit his house in Palm Beach multiple times. He's never really given a coherent explanation as to why.
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have.
Oh my God, what's wrong with him? Why is he moving like that? And jeez, he's like creepy to the 10th power.
Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
He's not a pariah. He's not an outcast. I mean, his friend list is it's upgraded from what it used to be. And so throughout the 2010s, Epstein's case didn't really affect his life. He continued doing business, socializing, living the same as he always had. But if you fast forward almost 10 years, it's 2018, and the Miami Herald is going to run a series of articles titled Perversion of Justice. It's the result of a years-long investigation by journalist Julie Brown, and it throws literally everything about Epstein's past into question. One of the things is that Epstein had spent that last decade, despite the lack of public outcry, he had been paying millions in civil settlements to his laundry list of accusers. The controversy never really went away. He was just doling out massive amounts of money to make people shut up. And so Julie Brown introduces this new perspective that the scope of Epstein's crimes was so much wider than previously thought, that he had not only gotten off kind of easy, but he had basically been actively protected by the legal system. Most of what she wrote had already been public information for a while, but this was comprehensive.
To all y'all people that was protecting him all these years and turning the other cheek and ignoring it, gunshots to y'all.
She documented more than 80 potential victims, all between the age of 13 and 18. She interviewed many of them, creating a cohesive narrative around the way that the legal system didn't just fail, but actively protected Epstein from facing justice.
Wow, and to that young lady, salute. She tried her best.
Turns out the story of Epstein's time in prison was a lot more complicated than just a year in the county jail. After Epstein was sentenced to just 18 months, he actually spent almost no time at all in his cell. He was allowed to leave the jail on work release for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, which was somehow possible despite being against the county's policy of sex offenders not getting those kind of privileges. Honestly, Epstein basically ran the jail he was housed at. When he wasn't at work, it was ordered by sheriffs that his cell be left unlocked and that he could have unlimited access to a TV room. Even more than that, he paid the the county directly to set up a completely private housing area, separate from any other inmates, with deputies being assigned to accompany him while he was inside the jail and out at work. One deputy would later say that he was told his job was not to monitor or watch Epstein, but instead to provide security for him. Even the job he was commuting to, it was absolute bullshit. It wasn't for his financial management company, it wasn't for any of his pre-existing clients. In reality, Epstein had formed a nonprofit called the Florida Science Foundation immediately before he was sentenced, and he employed himself through it. There's no documentation on whether or not this nonprofit served any specific purpose at all, besides helping him get out of jail all day. They never filed any public records through the IRS or any other channels. Epstein would often travel to various meetings around the Palm Beach area with a private driver, and that the deputies supposedly assigned to watch him would often be told to wait outside of his meeting. After he was released for good behavior about 2/3 of the way through his original sentence, he had another year of house arrest and probation to serve before he was released from the supervision of Florida's jail system. But even that would end up looking ridiculous. While Epstein was on house,
If you get charged with any type of that type of stuff, your fines should be crazy.
Yeah.
Your fine should be something of whatever your worth is. It's a percentage of that type shit.
Yeah.
What's he
Like a
worth?
good
3
piece of
billion?
this, at least.
Yeah, 70% of what you worth, 80%.
Oof.
Do some fuck shit like that. Take all their bread from these sickos. All
Yeah.
your money, all that motherfuckers, man. That's crazy.
arrest, he was allowed a list of privileges that were just so wide-ranging it feels ridiculous to claim he was even on house arrest at all. He was allowed to fly on his private jet from home to home, going to his island in the Caribbean, to Manhattan, to New Mexico, all on a regular basis. When he was at his home in Palm Beach, he was allowed to take walks around the beach. He even would go for shopping trips at the mall. At one point, a police officer detained Epstein on the side of the road when he realized he was out walking through Palm Beach in the middle of the day when he should be at home or at work, but his probation officer would say, Epstein has permission to get exercise. But even worse than that, it turns out that Epstein actually completely avoided the punishment he was supposed to receive in the first place. So while the Palm Beach detectives were investigating Epstein in 2008, they quickly started realizing that what they were looking at didn't feel like a local issue. It felt like something that was definitely crossing state lines, at the very least. And so
that's why, that trilateral commission, when you doing dirty crimes and you got people, the leaders of all these powerful continents, now it's who they know under that. That's all, you got all that power. So anything, once he got caught red-handed, he definitely negotiated, put me over here. Yeah, do this for me, do that type of shit. But when it got too hot, they said, you got to go. Now, that's why a lot of people believe he faked his death and out here on the island with old girl dad, you feel me, type of shit, to where it's like, you can't even, you got to go type stuff. But the powerful friends of make sure you go somewhere and you be cool.
I mean, that's a very plausible thing. I could see him not being dead. I'm not saying he isn't, but he might not be. Possible. If anybody could pull that shit off, it might be him.
Yeah, or he dead because he got to go now. It's like, okay,
yeah,
now it's time. Yeah, you make.
Yeah, he had to go, and he didn't get to speak. So,
but the files still come out. Well, what you think? You think this is like everything that they,
Nah, because the files don't come out. The files have been in people's hands for a long time, so they've already been gutted up and ripped through. Jeez. The only thing in there is people they want in there.
And a lot of redacted shit. It's like, what's going on?
They alerted the FBI, who also launched a 13-month-long investigation into Epstein's life, along the way identifying vastly more potential victims than the local cops were able to, totaling over 80 young girls that Epstein had made contact with. In the 53-page federal indictment that
But I don't know what's worse than Bill Clinton, because I was the president. He was in there, so I don't know, what else is, what's
That's
worse
ridiculous.
than that? What can they be hiding from? What else? Nah, but what's worse than that?
That's as bad as it gets.
Exactly. So what are they hiding? What else has it got?
they compiled, he was facing charges like transporting minors across state lines for sex, sexual abuse of minors, child prostitution, witness tampering, all of which could have carried a sentence of decades in prison, if not life. And they suspected that he wasn't just doing this in Palm Beach, but was trafficking these girls to all of his homes, from Manhattan to New Mexico, from Florida to his private island in the Caribbean. It was even suspected that the girls would often be flown in from overseas with the...
Look at her. Yeah. she probably, she like to get degraded and stuff. You can tell. I'm sorry to get into that, but I'm sorry. This is reckless bush, but you can tell.
help of powerful people he knew in the modeling industry. So what they found wasn't a rich creep. They had discovered a pedophile with crimes so wide-ranging that it was likely impossible he was acting alone. But somehow, Epstein was able to strike a deal with the US attorneys in Miami that would be so strange, so lenient, that it feels more like a favor to a friend than the resolution of a federal sex crime case. But how? How did he outmaneuver the feds? Because as we know, Epstein ends up in county jail for just a year, serving a laughably small sentence. People still argue today over how this was allowed to.
It's the example of powerful friends making a deal with the devil, man. Making a deal with the devil. All that satanic bullshit, that's what it is. They all friends connected in that.
Happen. The key figure, though, was Alex Acosta, South Florida's federally appointed attorney in the late 2000s. In his mid-30s,
oh God, he looks creepy. Hey, hello. Creepy look, ultimate. Yo, that's something they can't hide. You can't buy that off. That creepy ass fucking look. Oh my God.
Acosta already held several presidentially appointed positions under George W.
Does he got lipstick on, lip gloss or something? He look crazy.
Bush, including being in the Federal Civil Rights Division fighting human trafficking. But he was ambitious and hungry to rise even higher. But when he was tasked with reviewing the FBI's investigation of Epstein, instead of taking the case to trial, Alex Acosta meets privately with Epstein's team of infamous lawyers and works out a non-prosecution agreement. Epstein wouldn't be charged federally as long as he would plead guilty at the state level. But the deal went a lot further than that. It ensured that no current or future co-conspirators could ever be charged, effectively shutting down the case if Epstein would take the hit, even if more accomplices were discovered. Even more disturbing, though, Acosta agreed, despite it being federally illegal, that the deal could be sealed and hidden from victims until after a judge approved it. He was essentially saying, yeah, sure, no one that Epstein has abused is allowed to know about this until after it's too late. But the worst part was,
how does that even, that's the fucked up, the messed up part about our system, to where money could make that type of stuff happen.
Courts can be very foul when you have a lot of money and influence.
that when the Miami Herald expose came out, Acosta had risen to become President Trump's Secretary of Labor, one of the closest cabinet positions to the president himself. With national attention suddenly focused on him, his explanation for the Epstein case was just strange. It was revealed that Trump's team knew about this before hiring him, but Acosta had initially claimed that he was told to leave Epstein alone because he might be an intelligence asset above Acosta's pay grade. But later, as public outrage grew, he backpedaled, claiming that it was just poor judgment, before resigning almost immediately. So how did Epstein simply walk all over a federal prosecutor? Part of it was Epstein's immense wealth. It allowed him to hire America's most powerful lawyers, Ken Starr, Roy Black, Alan Dershowitz, masters of manipulating the law. For someone like Acosta, who was highly concerned with his career trajectory, taking this case to trial might risk his reputation and future career if it didn't go the way he needed it to. Reports suggest that during the secret hotel meetings with Epstein's lawyers, they pressed Acosta hard with political implications and emotional manipulation. He was boxed in. They even threatened to write a book about the case if he didn't give them what they want. But beyond that, he just didn't handle it properly. Julie Brown's reporting says, among other things, Acosta allowed Epstein's lawyers unusual freedoms in dictating the terms of their own non-prosecution agreement. One lawyer would say, "The damage that happened in this case is unconscionable. How in the world do you, a U.S. attorney, engage in a negotiation with a criminal defendant?"
Yeah, thank you. See, the ladies was representing. They were speaking up.
Facts.
Allowing the criminal to write up the agreement himself. Even the former Palm Beach police chief, who had supervised their investigation against Epstein, would speak out against how the FBI handled things.
Okay.
The cops thought they'd handed prosecutors the easiest case ever, a slam dunk. The FBI spent many months painstakingly persuading some of the women that Epstein had abused to tell their stories.
Okay, salute to him too. He's speaking on it.
Prosecutors in Miami finally honed the narrative that they would present to a jury, a startling, sickening tale of an arrogant millionaire who they say systematically recruited and sexually molested barely pubescent girls, and dozens of them. This was not a he said, she said situation. This was 50-something she's and one he, and the she's all told the same story. And so part of the outrage that explodes after this news comes to light is the injustice. And another big part of it comes from the fact that, coincidence or not, the key figure behind this controversy is now in the White House.
Secretary, were you ever made aware at any point in your handling of this case if Mr. Epstein was an intelligence asset of some sort?
So there has been reporting to that effect. And let me say, there's been reporting to a lot of effects in this case, not just now, but over the years. And again, I would hesitate to take this reporting as fact.
At one point, Epstein's lawyers had even threatened to publish a book about the case if Acosta didn't let him off easy. I think ultimately, beyond being outright collusion between feds and Epstein, it kind of just looks like
that lawyer fought hard for him because he like, oh, this dude know I was at the parties too. He know my business. Let me make sure this definitely don't, because he's a creep. I'm sorry, he's a creep. And then about the thing about selling your soul and selling your soul to the devil. If you're a good lawyer, you defending him. Sorry, you sold your soul. It's over. If you did, that's what it is.
Yeah, if you're defending people like that, then you're just as bad as they are.
Facts.
Money's not a good enough reason.
Yeah, they justify it for it's my job.
No, that's bullshit. You have a moral obligation not to fucking let scumbags like this walk the earth.
Thank you. And the morals is more important than everything. That show who you really are about over money and all that. That show, who's on what side you on, the morals, that what you do when nobody looking.
Yes, that's very important. And there are good people like that in business. I'd say most of them are, because these days, at least if you look for it, you could find out who's done scumbag stuff. They might still be in business, but they've done bad things. But a lot of them have done good things and aren't bad people. They're just regular everyday people like businesses and do well. But then you got Epstein leeches like this guy who latch on to people with vices and weaknesses, and he can corrupt people worse, or he can just find animals like himself out there.
Anybody that sell their soul to the devil is a person with no self-control, a gluttonous, greedy,
Yes.
Obese, obsessive, disgusting, no
Piece of
confidence, no nothing in themselves. Just
No respect, no respect worthy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the worst type of person. It's like, wow, and then it's disgusting, bro. It really is.
Used his wealth to abuse the system. He hired aggressive lawyers, were able to convince everybody that the case should go away as quietly as possible, and he was lucky enough to come up against a prosecutor who was just using the job as a stepping stone and cared more about his career and his optics than right and wrong. But despite how corrupt the whole situation was, people also credited Acosta's negligence for being the exact reason why Epstein's case ever found the light of day again. Some journalists wrote that if Acosta had never been appointed to Trump's cabinet in the first place, the history of his misconduct in the case, and therefore Epstein's situation at all, probably wouldn't really be remembered. Even more, the Miami Herald article also brought new attention to dozens of lawsuits that Epstein had been served by his victims in the years following his prison
Of course. He's paying off a lot of people, I'm sure.
sentence in the late 2000s. And with interest in the case rising, statements from the countless women he was abusing over the years would start to tell the story of just how disgusting and deep his operation was. One woman would say, "Something I think is very important to communicate is the loss of innocence, trust, and joy that is not recoverable. The abuse would devalue beyond measure my ability to form and maintain healthy relationships in my personal life. He could not ever begin to fathom what he took from us." Another victim would say, "Things happened that were so traumatic that to this day I'm unable to speak about them. I don't even have the vocabulary to describe it."
Wow. This young lady, coming from a good family, witnessed some real sick, satanic stuff, and little girls, oh my God, you know what I mean?
Terrible. That is terrible.
And then Bill Clinton with his big ass red nose, smiling, you feel me?
Oh, he's the worst. They're making him testify.
Yeah, I seen that. That's breaking news. Like,
But he's just gonna lie and be a piece of shit.
But what's causing this to happen? Is it something like? Because I guess we're gonna see in the files that's gonna come out later. We don't know, but like I know there's got to be some shit in there now.
Because what they want, because they tried to get him to testify and they said no, and they're like, all right, then we're gonna put you in court and we're gonna charge you. And then now he's going to testify. So if he testifies, immunity and charged.
He copping a plea basically. He like, he about to rat basically on the dead person.
He's just gonna, he's gonna rat, and he's gonna be left alone or left out of it. So the implication is that he kind of cops to it, but he doesn't formally get charged.
Guess
So
what?
he
We
was
not
just died
stupid.
home in a nice bed somewhere one day.
We not stupid. We know you the fucking scumbag. We know what you did. You're dirty, greedy, nasty. One of those
dirty
people we've been
bastard.
talking about. Obese, no self-control, gluttonous, sicko that can't, no kind of righteousness in you. Your morals cold as bone. Think you God. Fuck out of here. That's why it's the end for you too. Fuck out of here. We're not playing that.
One woman
dirty
would talk
little
about trying to jump
bastard.
off a cliff at
Yeah, definitely. Say that again, because we didn't hear you. Your walkie, your mic.
I said this dirty little Billy bastard.
And his wife.
Epstein private
Yeah.
island to escape his abuse. But that article was only the beginning. A couple months later, spurred by all of the renewed public interest in the case, federal prosecutors realized that Alex Acosta's deal with Epstein had been a huge violation of the 2004 Crime Victims Act all along.
I'm sorry though, when you think about creepy, like he is the fucking, he's the picture. You type creepy faced in whatever. That's the picture right there, bro. He looks like a messed up. What's that guy named? I forgot. Whatever. But this is the face of a real, like capital, capital creep, homie. Capital creep. I'm sorry. The shit that Epstein got on him. No.
And so on July 6, 2019, Epstein is arrested at an airport in New Jersey by the FBI Crimes Against Children.
Because the fouls is one thing, but imagine the shit he knows, his brain, that foul. The fouls is one thing. It's a lot of shit that ain't in that foul. That ain't in the files that we seeing that he knows about these sickos. Trust and believe that. But yeah, look at him. Lock his bitch ass up.
Task Force. That same day, upon entering his Manhattan townhouse with a search warrant, they discover thousands of sexually suggestive photos, some of which were found to be of underage girls. It was immediately clear that after already getting out of prison 10 years earlier, Epstein's activities had never stopped.
After that sick shit, after you get caught doing that sick shit, you're so arrogant and disgusting. You just keep all of the shit like it's nothing.
Like just out and about.
Out and about.
Like no one's coming up in my place, even though I've been arrested for this multiple times.
Sick arrogance.
It's crazy.
Once he was in jail in Manhattan, Epstein would continue to try and have his way. After being denied a $100 million bond, he would engage in bizarre behavior like paying attorneys to sit in conference rooms with him for up to 12 hours, staring at the walls and purchasing every snack and drink out of the vending machines just to toss the majority of what he had bought in the trash. But it looked to everyone with eyes.
I didn't know that's detail. That's a foul detail right
Yeah.
there.
He basically was renting out like one of their interview rooms and made it his office. It's crazy.
Like,
That's what we talked about, the flaw of capitalism, you feel me? I
Yeah.
really wish, there'd be
And the
some
power of influence.
some legislation rules to change, certain things about, okay, you got this money, but there's still got to be some things, some guidelines still, or else you're punishable by death, by a shooting gun range, shooting line, whatever they call it.
Incinerator.
Yeah, get out of here.
the crimes Epstein had done were so bad, so horrifying, so wide-ranging that there's no way the people who he surrounded himself with wouldn't have known what he was doing. Basically, it was starting to look like Epstein might be the world's most well-connected pimp. The general public's reaction upon realizing that Epstein was basically allowed to get off scot-free after the FBI had a 60-page document about him, the realization that he was doing all of this while surrounded by the world's most powerful and wealthy people, it was kind of like an insane conspiracy come to life. Before Julie Brown's reporting on this, no one really thought of Epstein as anything more than a rich creep. But the federal deal allowing immunity for co-conspirators who are still unnamed, this was...
No, the point is when part of his power was he wasn't a celebrity to the common man. He was a celebrity to all these rich people. They all knew about him, and they knew about his creepy freak shit, but they still wanted to go to the parties. Because let's be honest here, whoever knew about him were the people in his circle that was at the parties. That's the only way you're gonna know about him. You gotta be in the
Sure.
For sure. So he wasn't on our radar until they talked. Jeffrey Epstein, this rich fucking guy, got caught up with little girls. What? Then the common man started to do the research and find out about how messed up he is, but and he was able to slide with the money because like when the people find out now, you can't really slide now. Once the people know, nah, you ain't paying off those judges, all that, whatever. Because
Yeah, it makes it
shout out
harder
to
to
YouTube.
operate.
For sure. Shout out to YouTube and all the independent press, even
Breaking that.
what's Trump shit, Twitter, all of that. Because now you're giving people platforms you can't get away with the fuck shit no more. So I love that about
It's true. Very true. It's a huge thing. That's why these platforms are so important.
Thank you.
The moment
Yo,
where all the
Bush, I
puzzle
hate to
pieces.
do it. I gotta tap out, guys. I got somewhere to be at 5, so we run. But I just wanted to let you know that I texted you. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Oh shit, I didn't see it. Pop.
Oh
It's all
shit, I'm
good.
sorry. I haven't seen it.
It's all good. Salute.
I apologize. Salute everybody. Finish up and we'll be back tomorrow, I guess.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Be
All
well.
right, Bush. Peace.
Hey man, like I said, that's the game. Look at his eyes.
Started really fitting together, and the narrow focus that people had of him being a bad guy suddenly paled in comparison to the realization that he was most likely only one of many, many bad guys. National media jumps on it, people are enraged, social media is on fire, it's overwhelming the news cycle. People just wanted to know how deep this went, because it was starting to look like the very foundation of our world might be rotten. There's so many.
It's all the stuff we heard about, the secret stuff we heard about the, the secret society, the Illuminati, if you will, the people that's controlling the world. Look, they got Howard Stern there. Howard, get your ass out of there, Howard. And then it's starting to come to true with Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, wait a minute, it's really like that, huh?
Things about him that people used to call complicated. It was just look horrifying.
All the elites indulging in foul stuff. Look at him, the creep behind the creeps.
Simple. And I can't cover every accusation, victim, whistleblower, cover-up, theory, discovery, and story because that would take 10 hours. But we can look at his overall arc and see how this monster hiding behind the Epstein mask, he was never all that far below the surface to begin with. Obviously, we know that Epstein was kind of always a predator. As a high school teacher, he was creepy towards his girl students. Sure, but fast forward 15 years to his relationship with Leslie Wexner, the CEO of Victoria's Secret. He helps build his yachts, manage his investments, take care of his home. Epstein literally had power of attorney over Wexner's wealth. Throughout their relationship, though, reports start to show up that Epstein was being accused of posing multiple times, not as Wexner's money manager, but as a recruiter for Victoria's Secret. At one point, allegedly inviting a model to a hotel room in New York and assaulting her. At the same time, Wexner later found that Epstein had grossly misappropriated his funds during their business relationship, stealing over $50 million.
Of course.
Even his seemingly normal adult romantic relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell would turn out to be a monstrosity in disguise. For years, Epstein's basically never seen without her. Their mutual wealthy socialite couple persona was a big part of his life. She connects him to a lot of her famous friends. She helps him host parties. They mingle together. But she wasn't just his partner. She was also his recruiter and enabler. Publicly a sophisticated heiress, in private, she was finding, grooming, and delivering young girls to Epstein and his friends. She was just as evil and disgusting as Epstein himself, and the horrible crimes he committed wouldn't have even been possible without her involvement. When he bought an island near Puerto Rico in the late 90s, it became the center of his vibrant social life, a place for intellectuals, politicians, businessmen to come together for lavish parties and scientific summits. But at the same time, his island was
right there in the U.S. territories too, See the big United States flag.
Attracting a negative reputation among locals, becoming known as Pedophile Island and Isle of Babes by those who live near it. His plane, which would land frequently in the Virgin Islands carrying young-looking women for him to then take on a boat or helicopter to his house, it was nicknamed Lolita Express by the locals. An employee at the airstrip Epstein used, which was not on his island, would later say that the fact that young girls were getting in and out of his helicopter and on his plane and on his boat, it kind of felt like he was flaunting it. But it was said that he always tipped really well, and so people who needed money overlooked it. My colleagues and I definitely talked about how we don't understand how this guy was still allowed to be around children. We didn't say anything because we figured that law enforcement were doing their job and that they were aware. I have to say that I regret it, but we didn't really even know who to tell or if anyone cared. Friends like Bill Clinton, the former Prime Minister of Israel, Stephen Hawking, Prince Andrew, they all gathered there. And I think for a lot of people, the idea that
he was untouchable at that time. Powerful friends.
The true nature of the island was going unnoticed, it's hard to imagine. Even the private island itself became a fixture of obsession for people interested in the Epstein case. It was found to be full of strange buildings, the strangest of all being a blue and white striped temple surrounded by patterns on the far southwest corner that serves no apparent purpose but provokes countless questions anyway. Rumors of rituals, a doomsday bunker, an underground lair. Like everything else in Epstein's world, it represents everything and nothing. But I think in the end, like in most cases with Epstein, the mystery was pretty much a cheap cover for what he was doing in plain sight. Emerging quotes from people Epstein knew painted him more as an intelligent yet total and utter fraud who built up the persona of a genius banker using funds he had stolen from a number of sources and then leveraged that money to buy the loyalty of very influential people. Many of
The business, the way you do your business says a lot. If you're moving like that, yeah, that's somebody you can't trust. That's involved in morality, all that. He finessed every company he was a part of, it seemed like. You know, he tried other things that were failures, but yet he still got a lot, you know, getting his money. It's like, wait a minute, man, something ain't right here. But obviously, you know, now with these files, they only opened a little bit. We only chipped the tip of the iceberg, but man, it's a whole, and it's important to watch this, so we try not to let this happen again. Only reason why something happened is because the people seen it, and you know, that's the only reason why, because he's obviously, he's an elite, he got those friends, they're gonna protect them, but once the people find out you can't protect them.
Of both politics and business and leadership. What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission.
Illuminati. Motherfucker, you.
The Trilateral Commission is some spooky stuff.
And think about the commission, what you know, the mob did, named the commission. You know, Lucky Luciano created the commission, and he's speaking on a commission that controls the world. Illuminati shit, man.
People said it was some of the people that, the Illuminati, there's some mystery about it, people that...
Yeah, he gonna downplay it, yeah, fuck out of here.
Around the world. It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this Trilateral Commission of businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians.
This money.
So he said to me, would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission? Now, I was 30 years old, 32 years old.
And then you said, yeah, he said, well, you got to do this. And you did it because you sold your soul for money. And then you thinking about money so you could do the deviant shit that you later got into. You probably was into it by then. That's why you became a teacher.
I said, great. And he said, well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio. And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker, every great leader in America, the Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like to have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid, which I thought was funny. Nobody.
Just a good kid. And by that age, he was, what, 30-something? A good kid. He wanted to refer to himself as a kid still.
Else did. So in answer to your question, at that time I recognized around the world that monies and currencies were not really well understood. But again, it was only numbers. So numbers, and I'll get to the fact that it was bad thinking. Numbers are very good.
Are most people even on Trilateral Commission, when you meet most people, do you find most leaders financially illiterate, economically illiterate?
Most political.
According to everybody, he's actually economically illiterate, and he just uses connections. So now he's gonna try to explain to him like it ain't about being economically literate. Obviously, look at me, I'm rich as fuck.
Leaders don't come out of a background of finance. Most political leaders come out of a background of being popular. So in some of the countries, in some of the African countries, for example, they might have been a military person. They were a general. In some of the African countries, they might have been a disc jockey. Or in our country, they would have been an actor. The knowledge of money isn't, they don't have expertise, they have no degrees in finance. They really, and this is one of the major problems, their expertise, if they have any financial knowledge, is of their own checking account or bank account and filling in their own taxes. So many world leaders who don't really have a financial underpinning make fundamental errors when it comes to money on a country or institutional level. Let me give you an example. If you, Mr. Bannon, if I said your assets increased last year, you'd say, that sounds pretty good. And I'd say, what does that mean to you? You'd say, well, I have more money. I guess I'm wealthier. I'd say, yes. Lars Poker?
Yeah, Lars Poker. Who's that about, that great trader?
Lou Ranieri.
No, it wasn't the guy that ran the desk, that eventually ran the hedge fund that went long-term capital.
Yes, I don't remember.
Who's a...
Very much like a sick patient in the emergency room. You can't think about it like your car. People in normal walks of life think about money and things as a machine. The votes will make guarantees that you who can't get a house normally will be able to get a house. Working people's money sitting in our bank.
We speak on Bill Clinton.
We can't ownership stake in the society.
The dirty snake. You see Bill Clinton, how many pictures he's in with him, and how much times he's been over there. We know Bill Clinton's a foul dude, but check out what he says caused the great financial downfall of 2008. You know, that recession.
That all rests on their shoulders. They're the culprits.
No, not at all.
Okay, then
I didn't say they were the culprits. I said liquidity is liquidity. It allows the...
And that does not, the night before you go to bed, it doesn't dawn on you at all. You never have a moment of self-reflection that, how did I end up on this metal cot when I should be at the center of things?
No, I had a telephone, so I've said, I can talk to, it makes no difference where I am, in fact. I'm still talking to the same person if I was at my home in Palm Beach. But I'm here in jail.
Home in Palm Beach.
I can dial my own phone.
That's bullshit. No, but you can also make 1,000 phone calls. Here you got to make one, and he's got to take.
Think how much better that was. I had to decide who was the right person to call. That was unusual for me, because I would have called 20 people.
And
before.
What was the advice you gave him?
I said, you have a sick patient, and it's very much like a sick patient in the emergency room. You can't think about it like your car. People in normal walks of life think about money and things as a machine. And unfortunately, so if your car breaks, cars are always easy to fix. My jets, my cars, if it breaks, I know it can be fixed because it simply follows the same pattern. If this part breaks, you replace the part and the thing works again. People and the financial system are not machines. They can't be fixed the same way. You can't simply take out put some more juice into the commercial paper market, and that's like replacing the carburetor on the car. It's much more, I have a patient who can't breathe, has a stomach problem, can't see, looks bleeding at the same time. What do I do first? I have to think about it as a system. Where's the most logical place? What's the most dangerous place? If your heart stopped, we have to start your heart again. In the equivalent to the patient die, you hopefully have some confidence that he's seen it before. That's not how I think.
In the run-up to that, in the spring of 2008, that's when Bear Stearns got in problems, I think, in the spring of 2008, and they decided to bail it out. Did the Bear Stearns guys talk to you for advice at that time, in the big crisis in Bear Stearns?
No, but see, again, unbeknownst to most people, and
he talks around the questions, and he's full of it. Like you said, he's definitely full of it. He's not answering, but he's about to get to that question about the Clinton thing.
It's easy to blame people for the financial crisis, like you'd blame someone for giving your father the drink before he had his heart attack. But what really happened, The real enemy of the finance system was Bill Clinton. And if you ask me what and who caused the financial crisis, I would tell you it was Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. They definitely was ops by then, because he didn't even ask them who. I don't think he even asked them who, why, you know. He was just like, what happened? He said, you asked me who? He said, Bill Clinton. We know Bill Clinton's a scumbag, though.
Because of what Bob Rubin and he did to the financial, deregulate the financial system?
No. Because as of the last time we had our 60-minute interview, you talked to me about home ownership. And you asked me whether everyone should own a home. And I told you, no, it's too risky.
So the financial collapse of 2008 is because of hardworking African Americans, Hispanics, and whites who wanted to have a ownership stake in the society that all rests on their shoulders. They're the culprits.
No, not at all.
Okay, then
I didn't say they were the culprits. I was pretty clear it was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
And why was it Bill Clinton? Because Bill Clinton wanted to get votes from those people. And he sold them the idea that instead of renting an...
From those people. No. Another one. Epic reaction from your boy Bush, man. Let me let him do his little explanation. Hold on.
House. And historically, the values of houses have gone up. And he said, you guys in these local communities who haven't been able to afford a house before, I'm going to show you a way. I'm going to give you a way because I'm sure I'll get your vote that you can own a house because I want your vote. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you buy a house, Mr. Bannon, when you really, you're right on the border, maybe, or not even on the border. Your credit is not good. Okay, let's be honest. And it's not my fault, it's not Bill Clinton's fault, but if whatever happens, at the moment your credit score or whatever it is, your credit's not good. Now, normally, you come to me and want to borrow money, I'm a bank, and I say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bannon, I can't lend you money because your credit score is not up to where it needs to be. Hopefully, if you work harder and clean up some of your problems, it will be. But no, what I say to you is, I'm going to figure out a way to lend you, not give you. I'm going to lend you money anyway, though you don't have a good credit score. And don't worry, I'm going to get rid of the term that you don't have bad credit. Bad credit sounds pejorative. You don't want to be a person.
Sounds judgmental.
Yes, sounds judgmental. So what we're going to do is we're going to call your credit situation subprime. Oh, nobody knows what that means. Subprime. That means prime is good credit.
See, this interview was crazy because they talk a lot, but I'm sure he made a clause. Yeah, but don't bring up none of this foul charges. Don't bring up none of that. He didn't speak nothing about none of that through this whole interview. It's like, it's disgusting. And dude is acting like he's giving them a hard time, like he's giving them, pause, like he acting like he's giving Epstein a hard interview, but really he's taking it easy on him. And he's not asking those questions either.
And numbers on other things that are really unexplainable is here terms of dark matter, dark energy. Have different intelligences and they excel in some intelligence.
He's talking science.
It's not these. So you see, this is the question. You're asking me to measure something again. It's the disease.
It can't be measured. You're just
resort to a 500 or 1,000-year-old response to that question, which was, I don't know.
You know who else found that out? Socrates. That's what Socrates kept doing, right? Socrates and said, I want to give this to Heidelberg.
Your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're
He didn't answer. He said, I don't know. Why would you say that? You think you're the devil yourself. I don't know. Why would you say that?
I'll take the cash from from any source, including you. What's the other argument?
Let me give you that. I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
no, it's not. So in fact,
Why is it not dirty money?
because I earned it.
You finesse every company, major Ponzi schemes, everything you got involved in. What you mean?
A heart.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
You think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think about, ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children.
What percentage of it was your money? A penny out of, like, in comparison, like it didn't make no difference to you. It didn't make no change to your lifestyle. You just gave up a little something, something.
For vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people with their money.
If we walked in, you're
Is
a
that a fair
mathematician.
question?
You're a mathematician. We walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
Tier 1's the highest and worst?
No,
I'm the lowest?
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest.
Oh my God.
But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them, if I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
Himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil?
So he introduced that devil, the devil himself.
Devil himself.
No, but I do have a good mirror.
Do you think you're the devil?
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is
Was
somebody
the devil
knows
smart?
the devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise
Nah, he's playing stupid. The devil smart?
Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it.
He's not going to answer this
Okay,
question.
we have to go.
Okay, good.
He's not going to answer that question. We have to go. It's over. We all know the answer to that question. Like I said, we went through that saga. As these files come out, I might be, covering it because we gotta analyze it. Like I said, to make sure we on the lookout for it in the future. These freak boys that get a lot of money and do whatever they want. But anyway, that was another Bush epic reaction with my boy BullRad, B Rad. It is what it ain't. We out of here, y'all. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Peace.